and the basic plasma physics research to space weather application of it. The solar physics, the domain we call in the a branch of the astrophysics. And I'll also tell you what you can do from your side. Let's say mostly you can join a after MSc for a PhD in research, but before that, to get a like exposure of the domain, and also it will help if you apply for a let's say PhD, be it here or be it abroad. If you have prior knowledge of basic knowledge of research, and it will be like very good if you even have a research, even in a small kind of conference proceeding or publication, like a output of your whatever you do. So that will be very much helpful while you will appearing in some interview during PhD, or even if you apply for PhD, if you write it over there. So now I'll be discussing in detail all of this. But before starting, just this is about my already Lakshita has told, but I have done my MSc in physics from IIT Madras, and before that my BSc in physics major from University of Calcutta. And after that, for 2 years, I work after clearing GATE in IIT Indore in ALICE collaboration of Large Hadron Collider. So though the field was different from astrophysics, it was high energy physics, but what it was in common was the data analysis part of it. So in this 2 years, I got the exposure of this data analysis and also the research domain, how it works and all. Then after clearing NET JRF, I joined SESI. So it's a Center of Excellence Space Science in India. It's a department of IISER Kolkata, like Department of Physics. This is one center where like apart from Department of Physics IISER Kolkata, you can also like join for PhD, and also for the BTech there is MS by research program. After BTech you can join that program in SESI as well. Like past student of MS by research of SESI who has joined after that BTech, mostly they went in like for PhD abroad. So that is also an opportunity for the BTech student who are here in this platform. You can explore, and if you want, just let me know. I'll share the link of this SESI with Lakshita, and then she may share with all of you. So then after that, as I told, I finished my PhD in astrophysics. Most like the specific branch of astrophysics I worked in during my PhD was the solar physics, and to be more specific, on a particular area of the seismology of on solar filament and long-term variation of the solar filament. What are the solar filament on all? I will come to that. And after that, I did 1 year postdoctoral research as a research associate in a DST funded project under BRICS scheme on super flare on Sun and other stars for 1 year. And I also worked on stellar. You can see like the other, usually super flare are not there in the Sun, but we do see it for the other stars. So now I'm working in Aries, not only the solar physics, but also expanding in the other stellar research area. And I also take night observation of this 3.6 meter, which is like the biggest telescope, optical telescope of India in current date. So before I go to like the lecture, I want to show a movie. So which is a uh, space from a space satellite which is called SOHO, and in particular this is actually um, uh, coronal mass ejection what you see. So you basically block the solar disk, and then you observe uh, the atmosphere of the sun, which is called corona, in the extreme ultraviolet. Okay. So because corona, which is the atmosphere of the sun, is like the million degree Kelvin temperature. But the point which I want to draw your attention, though it was a satellite is sent for the purely solar physics research, still it has discovered many number of comets, which was like if you did not send the satellite for the solar research, would have not been discovered, because it was too tiny to see from any telescope from the like ground based. Okay, so this is a, and this is a planet, by the way. So, and also this kind of byproduct research happen when you do, because you have some particular idea or in your research, when you are like getting some data and doing analysis, but you can get some interesting which you have not even thought about. Okay, so this is the comet which you can see interacting with the corona solar atmosphere. And not from the comet that we only get to know about the comet, but we also get a lot of idea of the solar atmosphere here, the corona, like how the comets interact with the solar atmosphere. From that we get to know lot of about knowledge about the like the solar atmosphere as well, but we also get to know lot of about the comets itself. Okay, now uh, like this is since the second lecture of this topic, so I already covered about this slide. So last day actually we did not have enough time, so we only focused like the uh, HR diagram and the house like a star forms from a protostar, then from the through the life cycle how it goes on from the forming a protostar, where you just start fusion of the lighter element like hydrogen and helium. From that you start fusion of the higher element, and then you go on from the protostar to like the main sequence. Through main sequence you go and you start fusing fusion of the higher elements. Then you end up your life depending on whether you start with a mass, initial mass of the star less than 1.4 mass of the sun, the Chandrasekhar Lomit we know. Depending on that, we end up with the white dwarf or brown dwarf, or let's say black hole, neutron star, depending on that. All this we discussed, and if you are someone has missed that, you can get the recorded recorded video of that session from Lakshita. Okay, so there are a lot of question about that, so I could not go that day on the main part of the topic which I wanted to discuss. That's why I am taking this second part of this lecture. And now coming to this uh, research in the sun, which that day hardly I had just started. So basically I told the motivation behind the solar research. So basically it says the closest star in the like the uh, from us which we can resolve. So it is the closest star which we can resolve, right? That is the first thing. And but not only being closest is make us to resolve it with unprecedented like resolution and temporal cadence. So what is cadence? Cadence is basically what we call like the particular time which is takes. So you take uh, a photo of the sun, let's say, in 1 second. Okay, so this 1 second is typically exposure time what you give, but that is the not full cadence. You need some time to get your electronics ready for taking for the next photo of it, be it a spectroscopy photograph or imaging photograph. So if it is take another 0.5 second to do that, so total cadence will be 1.5 second. That is our total cadence. So now with like the higher technology and all, we can achieve like the very good cadence and the resolution. But that we can do like very well for the sun, because being the point sun is the closest star, and also it's a natural plasma laboratory. So we have like our limitation and doing the research in the plasma in laboratory in terms of both scale, like the here scale will be megameter scale, which is thousand of kilometer. That is will be the usually the smallest scale we'll talk about here in the sun. And you know in the laboratory scale it will be few meter to even kilometer, that much. So it gives that opportunity also. And the temperature what we like there can see, which is very hard to produce in the laboratory in a controlled manner. And also this understanding the extreme solar phenomena like this coronal mass ejection or this solar flare. so which like the uh, extremely like it affects our space weather, we like earlier days we used to concerned about the our only our weather, like whether like our atmosphere and all this weather, but space weather day by day is becoming important, because for not only for the research but also for our communication satellite and everything, we have to send satellite to the space, and these satellites cost millions of millions dollar its cost. But if let's say there was coronal mass ejection and solar flare when you have sent it, so all of them will be gone with this huge explosion and radiation if it fails. So in prior, you have to know when there is less CME, there is no chance of CME or flare, when you should launch your satellite. So that is also you are getting a lot of funding in the solar physics, just from point of view that there are a space weather application. But that does not stop you also to do the basic plasma research also, because that is the base thing on which basing on which you will predict and actually apply this space weather and predict. All this prediction business is based on you, how you good understand the basic physics under it. Okay, now coming to today's topic, solar filaments and prominence. So but before that, maybe let me just tell you uh, how this project, as I told and Lakshita also told, it will work if you want to join me or let's say my colleague, someone for the astrophysics domain, because most like all of my colleague will be working either, like mostly in high like the astrophysics, and some of them in high energy physics. So if you want to join, so ideally we could have been happy to like host you here in the Aries or their research institute, but since due to this pandemic that is not possible, so what we have to work remotely. Okay, and since we'll be mostly working in the data analysis project, because data analysis like there will be two thing, not only data analysis, there will be also some people will can work with some of others, like my colleagues in theory as well. So they are also mostly you have to do simulation. So simulation is something that we artificially create something, let's say in the computer, which like for the, let's say for doing the real experiment, either it's like the two price is too high, or it is, as I told, it will be uncontrolled and very risky to create that kind of thing in the real laboratory. So for that you do a artificial environment in computer, so that's what is called the simulation. So you know what is your theory, then you see in the simulation, and then from data analysis you are getting your observation result, then you match that and you see how good your theory is. So that is the idea. But some of our expert will do in only focus on the data analysis and try to do the stuff the theory people give to match, and some of the theory people, they will only do simulation and try to see how their theory is matching with the data, like the scientists who are doing this data analysis and observation, which result they are producing. So both goes hand in hand. So if you work either in simulation or data analysis as a this is a summer project student, so mostly since you have to do online, so we even won't be able to give you like the facilities which we have, like the computation and computer directly, but you can use, if you have good internet and let's say a laptop or a computer, you can use our server to do all this high computing if you need in that project any high computing. So let's say from here I had already working with a student Sharbesh and another engineering second year student others. So with both of them I'm using like working some machine learning technique and applying them. I'm trying to do some work in the solar filament and prominence, and not only with the machine learning but also with the other image processing technique. So mostly what you need to do a project, a good internet connection and laptop or computer, that's sufficient, and some prior knowledge of the physics, and if uh, uh, coding, then it will be good. So what coding? Ideally, like Python will be sufficient, because Python nowadays will also come free, but we usually use this ideal, which is called interactive data language, and also this IREF. Huh. So these two is mostly used in like nowadays and also earlier days for the astronomical data analysis. So ideal is for the solar people, and IREF usually used by the rest of the astronomy data analysis like the stellar people. But Python has came now with this SunPy library and also PyRef, which has all this, I mean, almost all this routine, which this IREF and ideal. And this, the best part of this Python is free, but IREF and ideal, that only like the institute like us has this license of it. Okay. So like the Sharbesh is using Python only. So language does not matter whether which code, which language you use. The thing is which scientific goal you are trying to achieve. That's only matters. How you achieve doesn't matter whether you Python use or ideal or IDE. But only the basic thing you need this one laptop, or let's say internet connection, or a computer or internet connection to do it. That is the only requirement. And also you don't need a high computing computer, because you will be able to access the server to do this high computing. Only if you have like the any good like any kind of even i3 kind of computer or laptop is fine. Okay. Now if anybody have any confusion, you can ask like sir, whether I can join you and how the process or whatever already Lakshit has covered, or what you need to prior knowledge. So basically if you have some basic knowledge of the physics, that's even enough. Not that you have to be expert of the astrophysics and all. That is the part, that reading part I will give you to learn, and also I will guide, or who will guide you, for any of my colleagues, they will teach you how to get those knowledge. So that is also part of this project. Not only you do some coding and all, but all this also will be part of the project. And ideally like we will be wanting some closure of the project, and like if we'll try at least we'll try to do a conference proceedings, if not a full publication in some good or some little less impact factor journal, because it will boost your career also, for if you want to do research further. And also this data analysis also, if you want to pursue a career as a data scientist, that also helps. Now coming to this solar filaments. So there are the basically dark filamentary feature in the solar disk. Last day I discussed, but again for sake of completion, and who have just joined today. So this feature actually is in the solar atmosphere. So sun has atmosphere like earth, but it is full of plasma, unlike our earth atmosphere. And also like there are several layer of the sun. So inside the sun we have, it has core, and also after that is radiation source. So core is the place where this basically the fusion is happening. So from hydrogen helium is getting produced, and by that process you are converting some of the mass to energy from the Einstein formula equal to mc square. That is the source of all energy. Then it is getting radiated outwards. So let's say it is the core, and that is somewhere from center to 0.3 unknot, where unknot is the solar radius. So that is the core. Then after that, radiation zone till 0.7 unknot, where the energy is getting propagated by the process of radiation. After that, from 0.7 unknot to the 1 unknot, which we take as a radius of the sun, the basically the convection starts. So what is convection? All you know, while making tea or boiling, let's say, any liquid. So this convection is the process by which energy gets transferred. So that is the point. It's called tachocline zone, the layer between the convection and the radiation zone, where this criteria for this convection starts. Okay. Then you start getting radiation out energy out from this by this process of convection, and this surface of the sun we call photosphere. Then comes the layers of the sun. First is the chromosphere. After the photosphere, temperature start decreases, and then it's come chromosphere. And from chromosphere, somewhere in between, it starts the temperature and density start rising sharply. Like the temperature starts increasing sharply and density start falling sharply. So that's we call transition layer. Where after that, the all upper atmosphere is named as corona. Okay, so all this filament feature which is we see, basically there the plasma which is hanged against the gravity, which is hanged in the like the solar corona against gravity in the means of the magnetic field tension. So magnetic tension give the require like the balance, require force to hold it against the gravity. That's why it like interesting to understand how this plasma react with the magnetic field and get this plasma Frozen theorem, and also some process we call reconnection, which we'll be discussing later on. So now you understand what is the solar filaments is. It's basically dark filamentary structure which you see in the solar disk. So this is the main part of the sun, like this photosphere till that, which we'll call is the solar disk, or let's say which has this background of the bright sun. But this void region, which is dark interplanetary medium, we'll call it limb. So when this same filament feature which is hanged in the corona, it goes in, because the sun also rotates, right? It is not fixed. It has some period of 27 days. By that it completes one rotation. So when this filament goes from this center, let's say this of filaments goes to this limb side, then basically you see it as a bright structure and you call it prominence, because people has earlier seen in during eclipse and called it prominence, and then they see it in the solar disk later on and they called it as filament. But later on people came to know that it's basically the same thing. When it rotates and went in the side of limb, then only you see as a bright structure. So now you can see the size of it. As I told, in the megameter, it will be like 10 megameter to hundreds of megameter, and sometime even the thousand, like the it takes cover of the all the like the tour, like the more than the radius of the sun, even like from the starting of one point in the solar disk goes all the way. So like that big filament also, it's visible sometime in the sun. So in comparison to that, you can see how the size of earth look like, right? And this is filament and prominence. I already told you when you will call this filament when it is dark and you see in the solar disk, and prominence when it is in the limb. Now this is a like the uh, picture of the filament eruption, and as I told, I like this extreme event like the flare happens. So flare is basically in some explosive event which happens due to magnetic reconnection. But this magnetic reconnection process is not only happens in the solar atmosphere, but also happens in the sun's like the earth atmosphere, because we also had in earth a magnetic field, and there it also happens. So basically what happens at magnetic reconnection, two field lines of magnetic field try to come close, but it cannot cross, as you know from the basic rules of the magnetostatic or electrostatics or electromagnetic theory. Electric field or magnetic field cannot cross each other. So if plasma flow pushes both field to come quite close enough, then sudden reconfiguration of the magnetic field happens, and it becomes so that in the new this reconfigured magnetic field, if you calculate the energy of the magnetic field in earlier configuration and the later new configured field, you see a lot of magnetic energy is not there. So what happens in that like the few second, within a few second to few minutes process, lot of energy gets converted from the magnetic energy to other, let's say, heat energy, this like electromagnetic other radiation like the x-ray, they radiate all the way from the radio to like visible to like this x-ray, extreme ultraviolet, in some extreme cases in gamma ray. So you see all these explosive events detectable in the radio, like the from the radio telescope, and also like this other wavelength telescope like the extreme ultraviolet and X-ray as well. But that for extreme ultraviolet and X-ray radiation, you have to go above the atmosphere because of our ozone layer, right? Otherwise, so that's why it this flare and all this phenomena, because it is the very bright explosive one is only visible in the is in your visible. So people just came to know more about it when satellites is being sent to upper atmosphere, like the over the atmosphere in the space. So then this coronal mass ejection is basically the mass of the filament or which is coming out from the solar atmosphere. So you know, you can understand like how big is the gravity of the sun, but this magnetic reconnection gives so much energy that in spite of the pull of the sun, it can come out of the sun, and it gets ejected with a very high velocity to the interplanetary medium. And if it happens so that the direction of this coronal mass ejection is getting ejected towards the earth, then you basically get a very like a very strong solar storm. And then in when it reaches and interacts with the earth magnetic field, because it's a ionized plasma, so it interacts with the magnetic field, and this, and then it produces what we call geomagnetic storm. And then in some extreme of this event, it happened that this all these high latitude places where in the earth, which country has in situated in the high latitude, their even electric power went off totally, it got disrupted, all this event happened. Okay, so it is also basic very like much important for those kind of events. So just let me see how much time we covered. So it's almost half of the, so I typically planning to 1 hour talk. So it's 4:35, so we are almost in the middle of the talk. So now I'll start with the discussing exact like the research I have done in the filament. But before that, if you have any question, you can tell. So I'll stop for 1 minute and take the question now. If you have anything, then I'll again start and like my research discussion on my research.
Yes. What will be the duration of the project?
Huh. So duration of the project uh, will be typically the summer. So let's say 2 months. But since we are doing it online, and if so happens that we got some good result, and we had not finished with the writing, so then actually we'll continue that and we'll submit it like we can anyway working, we're working remotely, so like that fashion we will submit it to journal in that phase. But ideally I'd be like to finish it within 2 months in the summer, and maximum 3 months, because we should have some goal and time limit, so that also we get something to do within some time limit. But as you know, like the even if you finish one project, then it will lead to another project, and if you continue in the same field, it will be continuous. But I want some closure, so that also it gains somewhere written, and you also, if needed in your institute to show some summer project report, you can show it, and like that. And ideally, if situation allowed, in sometime in the last phase of the project, I can host you for a visit for 1 week or so. But I don't know how this corona will be and how the situation will be then. But if situation allowed, I'll be, because in at least in 1 week visit you will be able to visit the places and see the telescope in the areas, so which will also, I hope, will be interesting for you guys, but only if this COVID situation allows by then.
So when it would be going to start?
Yeah, so thing is already, since I have started with Sharbesh, because they and other student others, because they have contacted me earlier, so it will be as soon as possible. That, so that will be, because we will be time limit, because your next session class or session also will be started, then we'll be busy with the classes. So ideally as soon as possible. So already I got some of your name and some of your research idea from Lakshita, but what it was missed is basically you either you do not give much information you about like what skill you have, let's say what coding you already know, or what exposure if you have any, like the attending some conferences or anything. So list of that, what I see is some of your interest basically. So even that was like, okay, I was thinking to like maybe half an hour, like not a kind of interview, but kind of like get to know what you have capabilities, and based on that actually some of from some of like I want to take, and some I can recommend to other of my colleagues. So that I was thinking last few days, actually I was busy, so I was thinking to do it next week among the like 6-7 people name I found from Lakshita send me. So from that 6-7, let's say I'll be able to take like at least 4-5, and rest of them actually either I'll depending on how, what skill they have, I'll be able to like send them to other colleagues, or at least I'll be able to give the contacts of them, and then you, it is up to you and him or her, that whether you fulfills their requirement, and both way, right? Also they fulfills your research interest or kind of work you want to do. So that is the idea. So let's say sometime in this coming week only, so it could be Tuesday or Wednesday, or depending on all your availability, we can keep it in evening so that all are available. I will be have 1 or half an hour session with individual, it will be not together. So I'll give half an hour or 1 hour window, and in some Zoom or some online platform, and then I will talk to you, and then I'll figure out. But if I get a good CV which already has all this information, then like straightforward I can start the project with you and have a yeah, that is the idea. So that's the thing. So if anybody else like who had not already sent to Lakshita their CV or some research statement, they can do it. So ideally, let's say Wednesday or Thursday, sometime like that, will be Tuesday to Thursday. Sometime I'll be sending on the information into your individual email or phone number. That also you should share ideally in your CV. And yeah, so then we'll see about you. But if I get a full CV and like this research statement, then it's okay. I mean, the not having a good idea of very good research statement is fine, but try to give the CV, in the CV as much details as you can, like what the skills you already have in terms of courses, what the physics courses you have been taught, or what are the coding you know. Even if it has been not taught you, fine, you has just done all by yourself is fine, but you know what the skill you have, that is good to know. Okay.
Sir,
uh,
excuse me, sir.
yes.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
What kind of simulations would we be working with here? Like, is
Okay,
it?
so yeah, it will be magnetohydrodynamic simulation. So basically, I don't know how much exposure you have of this simulation. So there is a hydrodynamic simulation, which is like the basic fluid you take, and it is in with some velocity distribution. So we call it a hydrodynamic. So there are already some hydrodynamic or magnetohydrodynamic code, open code, which we use. Namely, we use this Pluto code, we use this AMR VAC code, so that you can check in the, it's free, so you can check also in the internet. You can just write this AMR VAC code, and so the description of it will come. So basically what it takes is take all the MHD, solves all this MHD equation. So let's say this uh, uh, let's say this four Navier, let's say you have Navier-Stokes equation, okay, or you have this energy balance equation, or you have this mass conservation. So all this MHD equation you solve using all this AMR, VAC or Pluto. So that usually we do. So after that, but since all a few of this code needs high computing facility requirement, that will be provided to you. So remotely you will be able to log in the server and will be able to work. But before that, like you should have some like idea of coding, so that because you will not be developing all this MHD code, that is already there. So what we will set up in the sun atmosphere, what are the environment, that initial condition will set, and using this already developed code, like the simulation setup, rather say, will like the solve that, and I will give the both initial and boundary condition, and we'll study how that changes with time. Let's say this solar filament I already talked about. So we don't know how this solar filament forms. Like we know some bit, like, but it's not well clear till now. So it's need more research. So my main research interest in the simulation in this formation and evolution of the solar filament, because I already told these filaments got erupts and makes this coronal mass ejection. But it's very surprising that some of the filament it stays really like the stable for a long time. Even if some of the solar filaments survive more than a solar radiation, which is one solar radiation is some like 27 days. Lakshita, can you mute someone if there is a question? Yeah, so I was talking about this solar filament. So this solar filament formation. So solar filament is basically some plasma structure, which is some cool material get like the stabilized, but it is hanged in the higher atmosphere against the gravity. You see some of the like heavy element is just there in the atmosphere. It's not a cloud like which is a very light. It's very heavy, and it should fall down, but is against, it is hold against gravity by the magnetic tension. And it is not a simple like the coronal loop is also a loop which is a full of plasma, which is we see in the corona of the sun, which is also hold against gravity. But it is little simpler in terms of like it like satisfies Flux-Poisson theorem, and which is very well known and well studied. So coronal loop is not that big challenge to explain, but the filaments are, because it has a very complicated magnetic field structure. So actually it forms somewhere in between positive and negative polarity. So here is the magnetogram of a region where you see this solar filament. So all this dark structure is basically the solar filament. This is we call spine of the filament. Okay, and now we see somewhere it is fragmented, and so this filament forms in between of the this dark region is the negative polarity of the magnetic field, and white region in the like the positive polarity. So then the magnetic field is connected in between that. So in between this two polarity, we have some region where is zero radial component of the magnetic field, because this magnetogram also gives you the line of sight magnetic field, which has not the three component. So now it's formed over there where you have parallel magnetic field. So this parallel magnetic field basically holds all this plasma, cool plasma and heavy plasma. And now it is believed till now that there is some formation of this kind of twisted magnetic field inside which all this plasma stays. Now the point is, if this twisted like field line are there, they should be very much unstable. So if you give perturbation, then they should get destabilized and the filament should get erupted. Now that is also the case when you see the filament erection and coronal mass ejection, but then you cannot explain the stable filament. And with some prior assumption, if you try to like even match this and explain the stable filament, then the problem is you cannot then like explain why they will be unstable. So with the same single thing, because the physics will remain same, this for forming of the filament. So now with the single physics, how you can, like, let's say, explain both of these, like a stable also, a filament which is a very high stability, and also a filament which got lot of activity and ultimately they also get erupted. And like that, in the literature there are different like actives, eruptive, this kind of like classification. So this is a very old classification which also gives lot of like, and this actually, this not only about the filament, the solar physics is lot of full of jargons. So if you are just, I have included this slide just to tell you that if you just pick up one book of the solar physics which is little older, and also in few new books also, you will see lot of jargons. So don't get confused, because sometimes like the same structure will be called from the filament and prominence, but both are the same. So like that, you can say 5 type of filament they have defined. But basically for a modern classification, it is not necessary. Only you define, where you can see a lot of jargons name, just they see the shape and giving a new name. So that is not necessary. And just don't try to memorize all this thing. If you studying or any solar physics book, just see what are their main origin, and like whether there are some difference or not. So in that way, there could be 2 or maximum 3 kind of filament. One is in the active region, so there are positive and negative polarity, and in between this filament forms. And another could be which is not associated this kind of bipolar magnetic field. So those could be other kind of filament. And third could be in between, somewhere nearby this active region, but not very far from it. So some like this from some distance, which is from quiet distance from quiet region, but also somewhere from distance from the active region. So this 3 maximum type of filament we can see. So yeah, here it is explained like that, like this this active region inside this filament, and this filament is formed in between 2 active region, and this filament is some part is lies in active region and some part another active region. So there could be statistical like the also statistical study which, because this Mackey et al. In 2008, this study they have done a lot before, and ideally with the new data, I have a plan to do all these statistics, doing all these statistics from this newly, like there are a lot of satellite now, a lot of data. So from the new data and using some, because there is huge data, so there will be scope for handling them with machine learning and the technique like this. Now, I'll not go into the details of this chirality and all this thing, but basically this chirality and definition of dextral and synstral filament is depending on whether your magnetic field is like the parallel, like the, let's say you have now negative polarity and positive polarity. Now your magnetic parallel magnetic field and the axis of the filament magnetic field is in this direction, left or right, depending that you define that. But intrinsically that also relates to the chirality, which is and helicity, which is more basic like the fundamental thing. Also for the, let's say, particle physics, you have read, then you have already came across this helicity and chirality, and there are some conservation also. So that is very important to understand. When some filament is getting erupted, it takes the chirality with it in the interplanetary medium. Then when it interacts with the other plasma, interplanetary space, and other magnetic field, let's say in the Earth magnetosphere, then how this chirality remains conserved and intact. So that is very interesting to study. Now, just to give a sense of statistical, how this statistical study could help us to understand the basic physics. So all this Dijkstra and like the Zinstal filament also like follow this pattern, that the north hemisphere have this Dijkstra filament, and this southern hemisphere have the like the Zinstal filament, but that is only statistically significant. Now you have to explain with your model how even few of Dijkstra filament, if it is the law that all Zinstal filament will form the south, then it is not that all. Statistically you are getting only the significant, the 70% of them or 80% of them. Now the challenge is how to explain rest of them, how they then form if it is the law. So all these are interest of research. Now you can see in this histogram that Dijkstra filament in the northern hemisphere, but in southern hemisphere you see Zinstal filament has this, with this black actually you denote the Zinstal, and with this white gray the Dijkstra. Now you see few of the this white kind of histogram are there in the southern hemisphere also. Now challenge is also to explain them. And now my idea also to study some long-term variation, to see whether like there is any variation in this law with cycle to cycle. So all you might be knowing that sun like does is 11 year solar cycle. So all this activity in the sun, this flare and everything, coronal mass ejection, forming this bipolar sunspot, all this get picked up, and then again it becomes like a minimum phase. It is very less active, very less CME, very less filament formation, active region formation. So all this cycle has a periodicity of 11 year. So we call 11 year solar cycle. Now my idea to see whether this kind of law, Zinstal and Dijkstra filament, have some periodic variation with the solar cycle. How that like is valid for a, let's say, this cycle to this cycle, or let's say this rising phase to decaying phase. And how this statistical study is important, because from this statistical study we also match with this simulation of the filament. So let's say we have from simulation, we can form the filament in our simulation box. Now we'll run this code, let's say, for all this our observation period. Let's say we have covered 3 cycles, so 33 years roughly. So then we'll run our magnetohydrodynamic code for those time scale. But don't take me wrong that we'll run our code for 33 years. What I mean, computing time will be different. Maybe within 7 days we'll cover our computing of 33-year variation of the sun in the computer, right? So then we'll try to match our result from the simulation with this kind of observation. And how, depending on what your assumption is, what is your boundary condition and initial condition, and all this will take care of after matching with the observation will be validation whether your assumption is not correct or not. Then if you get some result after 7 days of simulation, if you don't match well is like at all, then obviously you have to change your assumption. But if you match somewhere with a, so that is playing around, right? That's how research works. And you have to say now which assumption is correct and not, because all this equation is non-linear. So you can't solve it by pen and paper. So to solve it, you need this like there's you know already in computer, if you have any course, so any numerical solution like Newton-Raphson or any like method, it will be depending on which method will be work for which like nonlinear equation good. So like that, there will be many numerical scheme. So that scheme you don't have to worry about much, because in all this AMR VAC and all this code that is already been defined. What you have to do, what type of environment in the solar atmosphere you want, depending on that, you have to set up your simulation box. Then you have to run that code in the AMR VAC. So you have to have a good knowledge of like the initial condition and boundary condition. So that let's say will provide in your, let's say, some starting 15 to 20 days of your project. Then when you are good with that knowledge, then you start running the code and start playing with it. And let's say after 30-40 days you get some result, and depending on how good it, we have to again match it, or again go for further, like again running it and checking. And so some of them will be working in the data, like this analysis of the data, and some of them may interest in the simulation, they can work in the simulation. So that is the idea. So I'll not go further. So all this equation I was talking about, when someone asking about the what is the simulation and how to do it. And this is a pictorial cartoon of reconnection, where you see this plasma inflow. Basically this plasma inflow basically is trying to squeeze the magnetic field and bringing this opposite direction magnetic field very close together. Then this point we call X point. Here this reconnection happens. So basically this magnetic field gets reconfigured, and you get a high flow in this upflow and downflow in the solar atmosphere. And this upflow is named as jet, which we see very collimated upwards like plasma get ejected. And this downflow is little like hard to observe due to the opacity of the medium, but in some cases also it has been this downflow is also observed from this reconnection X point. So yeah, and lastly, as I told, this solar wind interacts with this Earth's magnetic field, and there are 2 points usually where you see this reconnection. One is front side, day side of the Earth, and another is here in the dark side of the Earth. And all this reconnection event, solar wind, by the way, comes like all over the time. Okay. But this solar wind when it is some coronal mass ejection, all this plasma material of this coronal mass. So this is basically the filament material, which then comes with the solar wind. Along with the solar wind, then basically all this reconnection becomes very much like destructive, and then basically your geomagnetic storm can affect your Earth as well. Otherwise, like the satellite which you send above the atmosphere, that is all like always you have to take care of the solar wind and all this extreme phenomena. So what you do usually, if there is a very strong coronal mass ejection coming to a satellite, ideally then your satellite you should keep in the switch up little less switch up mode, or let's say if you have some exposure you are observing with that, so you should take care the photon is not too much, so that it like destruct your pixels like the CCD and all that. All you have to like work. And if you are within your like the in the Earth here, then you have to don't worry till the point this coronal mass ejection is not very strong and directly directed to Earth. And if it is very high, then actually in high latitude, ideally you should stop for some time the power transmission and all, just to take care that your power grid is not get destructed by that. Now I'm not going into this filament formation mechanism and all. Already little bit I discussed about this twisting of the magnetic field, and in between this filament get forms. So while this twisted magnetic field get forms, there are small repeated reconnection, and by that this kind of twisted magnetic get formed. Okay, so this you can say 3D kind of view of this twisted magnetic field. Okay, now giving mass of the filament is also important. So by this you have formed a magnetic channel of the filament. but there you see sometimes filament is not continuous. In one example I shown, right, it is breaked in between. So somewhere it has mass in this magnetic channel and somewhere you don't have. So how this mass get, whether somewhere some we call chromospheric evaporation, some mass get evaporated, and then again it get condensed, so that it form the material. Somewhere from the foot point of it, mass get ejected. Okay, so all those theory are there, so which could be ideally studied in in a research problem, and that is the idea. If you work with me or something like that, then in the project we'll be doing. And this is the solar cycle. You can see how it varies with time. So in this maximum phase you can see the lot of activity, but in the minimum phase you can see there are very less sunspot or coronal loop and less activity. And like that you guess this time of 11-year solar cycle. This is our current solar year. Like this was not current till 2017 we had this solar cycle 24. Now we are in the cycle 25, which predicted to be very small one, and people also speculated about the mini ice age and all. But some of the pioneer in research, one of my boss during PhD, Dibyendu Nandi from CCI is at Kolkata, and his boss in ISC, Arnab Rai Choudhury. So they actually predicted very like it will be not a mini ice age, it will be not that strong cycle, but it will be like okay thing. It will be good enough to sustain the next solar cycle and will not take a mini ice age, which is a we see this kind of thing. One is Dalton minima, and another kind of ice age people relate to it. So this kind of thing will not happen. So their prediction came to be corrected one. So, and how this like happened, this solar dynamo works and all, maybe sometime later I'll discuss, because within 1 hour this is all I could manage to cover. But there is also seismology part of work which I do apart from this long-term variation, which is just to know if there is some filament is getting oscillated. From this oscillation information we know various characteristics of this basic properties of the plasma, including magnetic field, which is unless very hard to measure in the solar corona, because usually the magnetic field distribution which I showed, that is based on this G-Man effect. But with the very weak magnetic field, that is and with the less density in the corona, this is not very effective. People are trying to apply Hanle effect, but till date they have not succeeded. So that's all for maybe now. And if now you have any question, I can answer. And because time limit is reached, it already 5:05, and then yeah, in later on, if you join my project or later on, I get an opportunity to again talk in XMind platform, then I'll be certainly talking about all those aspects like this solar dynamo process, or let's say this this seismology. So all this interesting thing. So if you have any question, you can ask me. Otherwise, I leave with this nice video of the so which is like taken for this comet detection. So, yeah.
So,
Yes.
so I basically did a summer project on plasma physics in which we studied the soliton structures, like derived the KdV equations using different techniques, and studied its stability, like the dispersion, which leads like that there are three types of particles that come into play: the hot, cold, and the ions. And we studied the stability under the concentration of different particles under different parameters and analyzed it using the mathematical models. So, is that study any somehow related to this solar plasma physics study, and can I contribute in it in any ways?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So that is the theoretical plasma research that is because still this reconstruction process.
So your voice is breaking.
This will okay. Now am I audible?
Not really, sir. It's breaking.
This reconnection process and also the other basic plasma processes also is not till date fully understood. So there is a lot of scope because all this model, this MR-VAC and Pluto, based on which it is had built up. So there are various assumptions. Let's say you can take two fluid model, like as you told, hot plasma, cold plasma, right? So all this kind of, this is still some model, and it is not again fully like people are not fully like fully observation. And with that,
In the last talk, you mentioned about like being able to see the solar prominence using a good Newtonian telescope. So I have
yeah,
a
right.
130 I have a 130 millimeter telescope. So would I be able to make observations with it, like, or at least see the prominence?
Yeah, so during eclipse, yes, you will be able to see it. And without the eclipse, you have to first use the good filter, and you have to use specifically H alpha filter for that. So in H alpha filter, yeah, but it depends on the like the how like when you are observing whether in that point there is a big filament there in the solar disk or not. Just let me show you. So if you just search, let's say, the sun today, so there will be different website of the NASA and ESA and other JAXA, all this. Yeah, so this SDO, let's open this one only. So from that, or the solar monitor, which provides the data from different satellite. And soon India also will be launching this Aditya L1. Then we'll be having data from that. I'm associated with that also, and trying to build up a code to give in that, which will automatically detect the filament. Sorry, it is not getting reached, but my point is that you get the image of the sun each and every day updated, right? So you can look at it because some of the big filament is stays for a very long time. So if they,
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
yeah, this is the images I was talking about, like the, so those are extreme ultraviolet, but yeah, but yeah, so for the sunspot, even you don't need a H alpha filter, but you obviously need to reduce the intensity so that you don't harm your eyes. So you need some solar observing filter. But the normal filter will work, like the H alpha filter will be cost little more because it's only like this forming only allowing this H alpha 1 that wavelength, but other filter, you know, it blocks all the light, like the all the components, so it will come cheap. So with that you can observe it with your telescope, and you will be able to see sunspot which is in the visible wavelength, right? So that will be visible to you.
And
Yes,
sir,
sir.
actually, it is not advised to use a solar filter even when an eclipse is going on. You should use a
A
solar
lot of
filter
noise
even
is
at an eclipse.
coming. Lot of noise is coming. I'm not getting your voice clearly and not sure what you want to say. Can anybody, you or someone else, can repeat if somebody got what you wanted to ask? Or maybe you can give a next try, repeat what you said. I have not got you. What? Because a lot of noise was there.
Type in the
Ritik,
chat
can you
box.
repeat? Okay, okay. Maybe I'll like curriculum, not 11, 12. In BSc, even first year is fine, or in BTech, like others is in BSc second year, then also it should be fine. Sir, what should be our qualification? Yeah, I already told. What will be the duration of project? I already told. It will be typically 2 to 3 months. Does tangling of these filaments cause solar storm? What causes stability difference between the different filaments? Okay, So this tangling, which is you may want to see this oscillation of like this solar filament that does not cause solar storm. So basically this all this reconnection and explosive events, so from that lot of energy can get out, and also it produces shock wave. So all this shock wave basically produces the solar like global solar storm, like we called it a Morton wave, and sometimes it's also named by other scientists like the Morton. By Morton it's called Morton wave, because I already told solar is a lot of full of jargons. So somewhere you'll see Morton wave, somewhere we'll see extreme ultraviolet wave, global in the sun. So that is not by the solar filament oscillation, it's other way around. Sometimes this extreme ultraviolet wave or this Morton wave kind of wave, this actually this shock wave interacts with the solar filament, hits actually the solar filament, and it's the filament started oscillating. So it's other way around. Then coming to Bodun question, then he had the Shubham has another question. What causes stability difference between different filaments? So that is still a active area in research, which is not fully understood, but the typically it is believed that this active region, since there are a lot of complex magnetic field connectivity, multiple connectivity, so it is should be very much active, because it very prone to a perturbation, quickly get destabilized. But likewise, the quiet region where you don't have bipolar kind of magnetivity, you have big large scale magnetic field, and in that magnetic field, if you have a two polarity kind of, let's say in one side positive, one side negative, there you form a quiet region filament. So there you don't have this multiple kind of connectivity in the magnetic field, and that should be prone to stability. So that is the basic like the understanding till now. But the now problem is, even in some quiet region filament, now you see that shows sometime lot of activity. That is still poorly understood, and people are trying to explain with this some kind of non-linear, let's say, instability and all. But I like still that as I told, it needs a lot of research to exactly tell what is happening. And then Varun has a question. There are not sister filament in the northern hemisphere. Okay, Varun, so in that plot what I have shown, yeah, within this like this observation limit, and also the histogram bins it has been taken, it has not came up in the plot, but there was something. I looked at those data, so and I remember those data. So those data, there were few filament in the northern hemisphere, but the histogram bin, if you take very small, it will show up. And yes, and also I told it is some data not taken like the very long, for a very long period, in some specific few months statistic is have. So that also one project I have in mind. I have to see it like in the different phases of the solar cycle, and whether it also have some variation. Then question is, sir, which one could we find, PIREF, ideal, or IREF? Okay, if you are doing solar physics, so not IREF, stellar people if you are working with some stellar project, then you need IREF. But as I told, I also work in a stellar flare. So if you do some project with me in that, then it will be IREF, or let's say PIREF. And if you do some ideal like the solar project, then it will be the ideal or SunPy. And now coming to the practical availability of you, PyRep and SunPy, since it's open source Python code libraries, it will be accessible to you. But this ideal and IREF is licensed, so you can use like the from our institute, or I'm not saying it, but let's say there are some other ways also, all these ways of track version and all. Okay, so that you'll know when you'll join the project. So now then question is, sir, when will be selecting for the student of the project? So that will be today's Sunday 9th May in next week. So as I told, so Tuesday, let's say 11th May, to 13 May. So I'll schedule it and let you know from in your email ID will provide to Lakshita. I'll send a mail to all of you, like the which date and what exactly time, and I'll send the Zoom link session when I'll have a conversation with you just to get to know like how, like the what are the uh, resources you have, at least a laptop or computer you have or don't, like that. And I'll also tell like the what project I have in mind, so you also think like whether you are wanted to work on it or not. Yeah. So, sir, water observation from Parker Solar Probe. So that actually will take a, even 1 hour lecture will not be sufficient to tell all of the observation from it. But few of the interesting event like the switchback events, so which earlier was not known. So this is very interesting event which is seen by this Parker Solar Probe. So switchback events is kind of, you just search in switchback events video in YouTube or somewhere, you will get it for sure. So those also is not understood like why it happens. People are coming with theory now after the observation happened, but still poorly understood. Sir, I know some elementary data analysis. What libraries should I prefer next? I am familiar with basic language. Some that's enough, and rest of I'll tell when you will join the project. Please share the WhatsApp link again. Okay, that is for Lakshita. Sir, I'm doing BTech in electrical and electronic engineering second year. I'll be eligible to take part and will have the anything to do offline because I live in Bangalore. Okay, but I currently myself is not in Bangalore. I'm in Aries, which is in Nainital. So there could be an option of some of my colleagues in Bangalore whether I can connect you in the offline with them. But we have to talk to you, otherwise how we will do it. Yes.
Okay, so I believe now there are no more questions. If there are any
Yes.
more questions, you can ask them personally or to me, or like I'm sharing a small Google form. So whatever questions you have, you can ask them there. And as you people are not sending in the exact proper format the email IDs and phone numbers, so I'm creating the form in which like you can send your email IDs and the write-ups you can add attach as PDFs. So I'll share the entire link to the professor, sir. And so like you guys are please requested to please ping me again if you like want to work, so I will share you with you the form, or else I'll try to collect all the SOP submitted and submit it to sir.
Yeah, I
Hello,
already
sir.
got six, seven, and rest of it when Lakshita try to give it in 1-2 days, and then I'll like select from them in like in coming
Yes, sir.
Thursday, by coming Thursday. So, yeah.
Yes, sir. So I'll try to give it the list to you by like today 9 p.m. or so.
Yeah, try to do it. That would be very much helpful.
Yes, sir. Surely, sir.
Hello, sir. I had one
Yes.
doubt. Since
Yeah.
I'm from electrical background, is there any connection or can I contribute anything from my domain to astrophysics? I'm also interested in astrophysics. So is there any connection or link where these both two domains are working together?
Yeah,
Is there
yeah.
any
So the domain is basically the instrumentation. So as I told, there is opportunity of this MS by research kind of 2 years program in the SESI ISAR Kolkata, and also there are integrated MTech PhD program both in Indian Institute of Astrophysics, and also it has been recently started in our Aries Nainital. So all this basically they work in the instrumentation, means building up telescope, even the payloads of the satellite. So not only electrical engineers are needed for that, a good knowledge of this astrophysics itself is very much helpful for that. Even ISRO has a lot of this kind of people though, who have both knowledge of engineering and also this kind of MTech PhD, or let's say at least MS by research kind of courses 2 years they have done. So basically the electrical or this kind of mechanical even field is required for this instrumentation part, which is like you work in a basically building telescope and that's part of the satellite. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Well,
So like with that note, I think that answers each one of your question. So we can surely end this meeting after a small talk. I just wanted to know your interests and like what specific domains you want more projects in. But if there are any more questions for sir, like, or we can like formally end this meet. So we are ending this meet for today. You guys can send me your questions or links. I'll share them with sir shortly.